For today's video, I thought we'd do an updated Psylocke guide. Psylocke was given a pretty significant change by having a little bit of damage added to her shuriken, as well as being able to reduce her cooldowns more. On top of that, with the global alt nerf, the neutral matters way more than ever before. And this really benefits me and my playstyle as I thrive in the neutral. And the way that I would describe my playstyle is a bit more of an assassin. The way that I prefer to play her is that by the time the enemy team notices I'm there, I've already gotten my kills and gotten out. I haven't been playing much this season, but in this game, I know someone on the enemy team is a top 500 Eternity player, so I chose this game as a good example. That all being said, I'm going to show you how to be an assassin. Let's jump into it. As soon as the game starts, on defense, I try to find some sort of flank position or contest some sort of off angle that DPS usually like to take. Psylocke is not a heavy damage dealer, so sitting down main is not the best place for her to be. She's not like a Squirrel Girl or a Punisher or a Moon Knight that can sit down main, charge their ultimate, and do damage and apply pressure that way. You instead want to try and live in those off angles to where you can apply more efficient damage. By constantly dashing between each off angle and denying cover and forcing the enemy to back up, you can be a much greater help to your team than if you're just sitting down main. And because she doesn't have crazy bursts, it's more about having good target priority. So the better you improve your game sense, the stronger Psylocke becomes. This is the reason why high elo players tend to get the most value out of her. Psylocke lives in the off angles. That's where she's going to do her best work. And one of the best ways to stop flanks from happening against your own supports is to shut them down in the first place. Part of being a good duelist and being a good Psylocke player is winning your 1v1s. When you're going up against Magic, you have to be a lot more patient and wait and bait out her portals. Don't just spam all of your shots and all of your dashes so you don't have them. Wait and time your shots and time your dashes in between each and every portal. Because if you dash, you throw your right click through her iframes, it gives her the advantage. And you don't want to be stuck without your cooldowns. The other thing I'll say is the reason why I know I can comfortably sit on an off angle is because of the fact that I know I have a Moon Knight as my other DPS. My Moon Knight is going to be sitting closer to the front line to be able to help them out. But let's say, for instance, I had a Spidey or a Daredevil or a Black Panther on my team, and I saw them going to contest an off angle, I might sit more towards the front to help my front line out. Because the last thing you want is for your front line to be overpressured when you're going for a dive. Once Magic was down, I went towards their back line and started pressuring their supports to bait out some resources or try and get them low enough to try and get a pick. When you have the advantage of a single kill, you want to play slow but aggressive and see if you can't continue those staggers. I was shooting the person at the very back because usually when you shoot the person at the very back, they tend to fall over or die because of the fact that most people don't realize what's happening. Still, forcing the supports to heal each other means that the team wasn't going to get heals at the front line, but it's just unfortunate that both my tanks fell over. So in this moment, with my team having no tanks, there's no way for us to control any space, and I hard comped to my team that we all need to just leave this fight entirely. There's absolutely no way in this situation for us to win a 6v4, and the enemy team is just going to try and stagger us. So although it's really unfortunate that we lost both of our tanks, the best thing for the rest of us to do in this moment is to not continue to stagger ourselves. After convincing my entire team to back up and get all the way out of there, I walk all the way around to get a hard flank off. Psylocke is incredibly mobile, and because she can get her cooldowns back faster, she's even more self-sufficient living in dangerous places. And the more aggressive of an off angle or a flank that you take, the more value it can get you. And knowing that my tanks were coming back from spawn, I wanted to make sure I could engage at the right time while the enemy was distracted by my tanks walking up. And even though supports are a high priority kill, once again, Magic was at the very back, and the reason why she got bursted so quickly is because of the fact that by the time the supports noticed that anything was going on, she was already dead. Players feel all too comfortable near their teammates. They always assume that they're going to be seen or they're going to be healed or they're going to get resources to keep them alive if anything happens, but it's because they get too comfortable that they can become easy pickings. Now that I'm back here in this location, what I want to do is I want to try and pull the attention and focus in two different directions. The enemy will have to make a choice. They either have to turn around to deal with me or they can face my team at the front. By applying pressure in two very extreme directions like this, it puts them in a very awkward spot. And when you do that, you don't necessarily need to get kills. You will slowly put them into a bad position until either you can go in and dive and get a free pick or one of your allies can. But once it gets dangerous and they do push me out, I retreat to safety and I go for an off angle. Anytime you're standing directly near your team, you're in danger and you're going to take more damage than you should. You as a Psylocke player don't want to be standing next to your team. If your team is headed one direction and you're standing right next to them, if anyone's shooting at your team, they're shooting at you as well. So with your mobility and your dashes, you want to dash to an angle on the side so that way you can apply pressure from a different angle and deny cover and apply damage more efficiently. The more extreme of an angle you take, the more value you can get, but also the riskier it gets. So anytime you see me play Psy, I'm always going to be rotating around those different off angles. Once I see the Star-Lord get up to the high ground to try and apply pressure the same as I would, I meet him up there to try and force him out of that location. A good DPS player is contesting those off angles and not just letting other DPS get through for free. And the only time I start to get out is when I get pressured too much myself and the Star-Lord and the Magic go up together to try and 2v1 me. Still, it's my job to make sure that they don't get through easily. Because if I just let both of them get through to the high ground for free, and I try to dive the enemy backline, it'll be me diving two supports while Magic and Star-Lord could have the opportunity to dive my supports together. And in that situation, they could probably get my backline faster than I could get theirs. And the only time I'm anywhere near main and shooting tanks is usually when I need to apply pressure to get the tanks either to back up or to shorten my cooldowns again. Once the support ults go off, there's not a whole lot I can do without putting myself at greater risk. Especially when ults like that are going off, your team is still in danger even within the support ults. So instead of stressing out my supports by putting myself in danger, I keep myself out of the support ult because I'm already safe. And then I use that time to position myself safely at the back to try and get an extreme angle to see if I can't pick off anyone that might step out and try to back away from my team. The moment I do, I hear some footsteps, I realize that the white box is behind me, leading to an easy kill. And with both support ults going off, my damage isn't enough to really kill through the Luna ults. I'm kind of waiting and preparing to fight after the Luna ults end. When the Starlord went up to ult my team, I was hoping he wasn't going to get too many picks and that I could just retreat to safety and hopefully my team could as well, and that we could just re-engage back in after it ended. Looking back, I might have been able to go in there and damage him a bit to try and actually kill him through his ult, but with me being so close to my ultimate, I didn't want to put myself at risk of dying with my ultimate still up. In hindsight, I probably should have tried to kill the Starlord, but it's much easier to judge yourself in hindsight than it is in those moments. Still, I know 2 supports are coming back from spawn, so I was also waiting to spawn camp them as well. After getting a pick and getting my ultimate, I immediately dash in to try and pop it on top of them, and unfortunately, Luna hits a really great snowball and freezes me in place and shuts down my ultimate. Could have made for a really cool play, but it was a good play by her part.
They hit a checkpoint. Now might be a good time to stop them. Need some help.
You can see that as my team is fully regrouping and we're getting ourselves into position, I'm not standing directly next to my tanks. I'm standing a bit more at an angle, trying to shoot and apply pressure where I can, by doing damage to try and build my ult back up until we're all in place. Once I see that my tanks are back, anchoring down the point and holding down that space, I know I'm free to go and contest those off angles. So at first chance that I get, I immediately dash up top to get to a better angle. Once the enemy team is distracted by my team, I hop down below and completely flank. This makes it really easy once again to kill the white fox because once again, the person at the back is out of the LOS of their other supports and makes for easy and quick pickings. Because by the time the enemy team notices that I'm there, she's already dead. And once I'm in this very extreme position, I want to keep trying to pull their attention and pull their focus, where I'm either going to try and get a pick and try and assassinate someone, or I pull the attention of 2 or more people and get them to turn around to try and look at me. Because after you get a pick especially and you have 2 people looking at you, that means the enemy is outnumbered at the other side of the fight. So even though Magic had ulted, because they were distracted by me, it made it easy for my team to pick off the Magic. You have to remember in this game, attention is still a resource. The more attention you can pull while being alive is huge value for your team on another part of the map. And this is why I like to play Psylocke this way. I don't necessarily have to hit my shots, I can just be a distraction and stay alive. But after we push the enemy out, I immediately try to put myself into another off-angle position to see where I can apply pressure. And because I'm so mobile and I'm so quick, I'm also keeping an eye on all the off angles for where Magic might want to go. As a DPS, you are the strongest person at being able to contest those off angles and deal with people who are going to try and make plays on your team. The moment I get my ult, I immediately start looking for an opportunity and try to rip it right away. But before I can even do that, Strange lands an ult, so I immediately go to try and pick off one of the supports that he stuns. Right after doing that, my supports had calmed to me that there was a Magic in the back, so I go back to try and help deal with the Magic. Because the last thing I want Magic to do in this moment is try and get a pick on one of my supports, especially since we have 2 and they have 3. And if we all collapse in on her at once, she'll be an easy kill. We still unfortunately lost our Strange, but the moment I got my ult, I immediately dashed in and tried to ult their backline. After ulting their backline, I try to drag the circle as far away from the rest of the team as possible. That way the circle only encompasses the squishies that I want it to target. By doing so, I can increase the number of slashes that each of the supports is going to take without it targeting the tank as many times. And you can see that because of the fact that I didn't hesitate on using my ult and waiting for the perfect moment, I didn't let the Luna charge her ult up fast enough to get it back again. You really want to maximize your ult efficiency in this game by trying to use your ults as often as you can while still getting value out of them. Because any damage that you do while you have your ultimate is just charging enemy support ults up. So every chance I get to try and maximize the stagger time by using my ultimate, I'm going to try and take it. Once again, as the support ults go off, I'm just pumping damage in to try and charge my ultimate up, but there's not a whole lot I can do in that scenario. Diving into that ultimate is just going to put me in greater danger. Even if you have your own support ult going off, that doesn't mean that playing in there will keep you alive. Especially when the enemy team has a Strange and his E can do such great burst damage that I've died accidentally to his E plenty of times. So I try to stick towards the back and try and pull their attention and pull their focus away and try to do the usual thing where as soon as I get low or as soon as I get myself in danger, I try to dash back up and get away. Because if you can't secure kills, hopefully you can secure resources and attention. Unfortunately, I don't get out quick enough. I ended up dying for it. I was also hanging near the back to try and follow up with my Iron Fist ultimate. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any picks. As I come back out, my support's calm again that Magic is on the backline, so of course I go to help in defending my backline.
Only 60 seconds left. I like the cold distance.
And even though she tries to get away, we get another pick on her, which continues the staggers for us, which means we reduce the amount of time that they have to try and push the objective. You can see me here as both teams are prepping for the next fight that's upcoming. I am just keeping myself at that angle to try and apply pressure and do damage to the front line. I'm trying to play safe and build my ult because what I'm trying to do right now is run out the clock. The cart also still has a fair bit to go, so I'm not stressing myself in this moment to try and make a risky play. And even as the fight breaks out, I continue to live in those off angles, applying damage and building my ult up. But with both the Thing and the Cloak and Dagger ulting aggressively, in this moment the most important thing for my team to try and do is survive, and if they can't survive, die quickly, because we still have enough time for another fight to contest the objective. I see Bucky at the back and I try to shoot some damage on him, but unfortunately the Cloak and Dagger ult is still up, so there's not a whole lot I can do here other than charge my ultimate up. He pokes me and does a little bit of damage, so I go back to get a health pack, and then I go to get back into the fight. I'm not panicking in this moment because of the fact that I'm still confident my team can get back and touch the point. And using my mobility, I get myself back up into that off angle and set myself into position to once again stay in those extreme off angles. Especially when you look at the enemy team comp, there's not a whole lot of people that can try and contest me on those high ground spots. So if I needed to get to safety, I could easily dash up to one of the many high ground spots. The moment I hear Bucky start to charge his hook, I immediately just play safe. I'm getting close to my ultimate, which is the win condition here, so I really don't want to put myself at risk and die. So it's all about timing your engages and taking calculated risks. My tanks are doing a great job at just holding the convoy down and keeping it from moving, and my supports are helping them do that. They are buying us DPS time in order for us to make plays. So it's super crucial that we make the correct plays. And once I do that and I dash onto the backline, once again, I drag the circle to try and limit who it grabs. That way it slashes the same squishy targets multiple times. I'm able to get a really great ult off and helps us clean up the rest of the fight. The enemy team won the previous fight because they just had an ult advantage. And that's fine. We were probably always going to lose that fight, but don't panic just because of the fact that you lose a fight. You don't necessarily need to change your team comp or anything. You just need to go back in and win with your own ultimate. And that all being said, that's the end of the first round on defense. During the early parts of the game on Convoy, what you're trying to do is apply pressure to the enemy team to force them to back up, so that way the Convoy can make it up and around. Once we apply enough damage to force the enemy team to back up and allow the Convoy to move up, that Convoy helps act as cover. So it means that my team can take space more freely. So in the beginning of the Convoy maps, what I'm trying to do is just take an angle, apply pressure, and get the enemy team to back up until the Convoy can push up. Then I can try and take more extreme angles, because at that point, at that choke, it becomes a bit of a standstill.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Immediately out of spawn, I see Punisher in the back shooting with his turret, so I'm trying to apply damage to break the turret. I get as close as I can by staying in those off-angle positions I like to live in, and then apply damage to the Punisher to get him to drop down. Once I do that, I continue to apply pressure to him to force him to back up. Luckily, by applying pressure to the Punisher and then pulling the attention of the Thor and still staying alive, my team was able to get a pick on the enemy Bucky. If I would have died there to the Thor, both teams would have just traded a DPS for a DPS. Because I survived though, I gave my team a greater advantage. It still wouldn't have been too bad if we traded because my spawn is closer, but still, I can do a lot more for my team alive now than if I were dead. And now that we have the advantage, we're going to try and apply pressure to see if we can't get another stagger. Now, even though the Convoy is not fully moved up here, I can take an aggressive angle because they are down one. And here again is that perpendicular attack that I'm talking about. As my team is applying pressure from one direction, I use my mobility to dash to another direction and apply that pressure to help deny their cover and apply more efficient damage. It also helps that because Luna keeps giving me the snowflake, I can stay in these positions for a lot longer. And if you're ever playing Luna and you have someone who is staying permanently on the flank, the snowflake goes a really long way. Now, as long as my team keeps applying pressure, there's a fair chance that we're going to be able to get another stagger in this moment. When you have the advantage, you never want to let them regroup. So if it's a 6v5, try to get another pick. That way, by the time the enemy player that first dies comes back, it's still a 6v5. And there, because they were down a player, it makes it very easy for us to apply more damage than the enemy team, which allows us to delete one of their tanks. Knowing it's a 6v4, I can now take an even more aggressive angle and dive even deeper into the enemy team as I apply pressure and force them to back up. I'm always being mindful of my dashes and my cooldowns though, as it's super important that I'm not standing out in the open without some sort of plan. The last thing you want to do is be caught out in the open without cover, without any dashes. And now once again, with them being down a player, we're going to apply pressure at the doorway to try and see if we can't continue more staggers, or try and keep them from touching the point. I go down to apply pressure at the doorway to try and help my team to keep the enemy team from walking forward, and luckily we end up getting an enemy kill in the Thor before the Invis ult can heal him back up. Invis ult, Cloak and Dagger ult, and Luna ult are meant to keep people alive. You always want to try and ult early and not wait until after someone dies. Once we counter with our own Invis ultimate, I try to shoot the Punisher because of the fact that the Punisher is the one person with the shotgun that could kill through these ultimates. So I'm hoping that if I'm shooting him, that maybe there's other burst that happens that ends up killing him. Unfortunately, it doesn't, and the enemy Cloak and Dagger ends up ulting as well, and now there's not a whole lot I can do here or kill through in this moment. So now the best thing for me to do is try and build up my ult charge and prepare for when the Cloak and Dagger ult ends. I had remembered that we killed the Thor first, so I was going to try and spawn camp him. Seeing that he switched to Strange, he had already started casting the portal, so he's forced to use the portal. In this moment, I have my ultimate and they have no support ults, and I am hidden in their backline. So I go back up top to try and put myself into position to be prepared for when my team pushes up. I end up seeing Bucky up there and he can test me, but I have enough time to go back and get the health back and still put myself into position. It's super crucial that I not ult too early or too late. And during this time, I know that the enemy DPS are a bit paranoid as they're looking around to try and see where I'm going to come from, because it's super important that they try and shut me down. And there, once my team immediately starts to pull attention on the front line, I ult on the back line and drag that circle and try and isolate some of the targets in the circle. This leads to us getting a pick on the Punisher, which is more than enough. Your ults don't need to be big and flashy. They don't need to kill the entire enemy team. A single pick with a little bit of damage is more than enough to help you win the team fight. And once I get that, I'm still on the flank applying pressure from another direction so the Strange can't shield from all of us at once. Now it's just a matter of maintaining that pressure and keeping it applied as we finish the rest of the staggers. I also see Strange fly away and I get him low, and once he's one hit away, I tend to delay a lot of the last hits that I get to try and get an extra second or two out of each and every stagger. It might not seem like a lot, but this stuff starts to add up at the end. I see the Bucky as an opportunity to continue the staggers even more, and after embarrassingly missing pretty much all of my shots, I prioritize keeping myself alive, and luckily my teammates can help get the kill instead. And in this moment, I am calming to my team to push up and start taking space aggressively. One of the biggest mistakes that players make is constantly putting 3 onto the Convoy. The only time you put 3 on the Convoy is when you know that putting 3 on the Convoy will cap the objective before they can get back. Otherwise, in this instance, because I knew that our Invis woman was lowest on her ult charge, I wanted her to sit on the Convoy to push it because you get the biggest speed boost from a singular person being on the Convoy. And I want my team to push up and take as much space away as we can to allow the Convoy to move up more freely. And knowing that they're down, we're going to try and continue the staggers the best we can. Because in this moment, our team has the advantage, and we still have an Ultron ult and a Luna ult to be aggressive with. So I go to push up, and once again, I keep myself surviving in those off angles. The Thing pushes up to try and take space, and I calm to my team to shoot the Thing and ult with Ultron to try and secure more picks and more staggers. Because right now, we have the advantage, and it's in our best interest to use these ults to keep the advantage. Ultron, unfortunately, at first starts shooting at the Punisher, and I calm to them that the Thing is low and to start shooting the Thing. And luckily, with enough of the combined damage and the fact that they're down a player, we're able to pick off the Thing and continue the staggers even more. Because now, once again, they're down a player, and Bucky is only just now coming back to the fight. You don't always have to hold support ults to only act defensively or use it to counter other ultimates. It is much greater value to use your ultimates like this, because now the enemy team is staggered and allows the rest of us time to build up our ultimates as well. And now that once again, because we have the advantage, it's just about applying pressure, because the enemy team cannot walk forward comfortably while being down a player. I try to do this by applying a pressure from the front angle, but Psylocke doesn't do a whole lot of great damage up at the front. It's not her best location to be. You always want to be trying to live and survive in the off angles. So I go up top to try and take a better angle. I notice the Thing swap to Rocket to go triple support. And knowing he's going to want to get back to the fight super quickly, I'm banking on the idea that he's not going to have his dashes the moment he comes out of spawn. And Psylocke is one of the absolute best spawn campers in the game. If you have good game sense and you can track respawn timers, you can really use this to your advantage. And just like that, I was able to get the kill on the Rocket, and because of the fact that I was in their spawn, it forced the Bucky to also turn around, and he wasn't ready for the Strange ultimate. The Strange ultimate that he was able to build up in time because of the fact that Ultron got a kill on Thing, which bought Strange time to build up his ultimate so then he could use it to stagger the enemies. Pulling attention is value. Using your ultimates aggressively to try and continue staggers while also allowing your teammates to build up their own ultimates is value. Psylocke is really great at using that mobility to live in the off angles and provide constant pressure against the enemy. Anytime my team is fighting, I'm always looking for an angle to take on the enemy that's more beneficial. And I wait for my tanks to push up to take aggro and take attention, which then makes it easy for me to take an angle on the enemy and apply pressure to more high priority targets. Or simply apply pressure to the front line, which allows my tanks and my team to push up. And by constantly using my ultimate as soon as I get it, I'm getting as much value out of it as I can. You really don't want to be holding on to your ultimate waiting for the perfect opportunity. If you see a chance to get even a single kill with your ultimate, absolutely take it, because it's still much easier for your team to win a fight that's a 6v5. Because you get your cooldowns back quicker now, you really want to try and abuse that fact and use your abilities to maintain surviving in those off-angle positions. You can even use it to live in more dangerous flank positions. And by being able to live in those dangerous positions, pull attention, pull resources, apply efficient damage, and ulting off of cooldown, you apply so much pressure to the enemy team that it doesn't feel like they can do anything. You are constantly in control of their actions. Psy's kit is very versatile and allows you to do a lot of things, and she's also one of the best 1v1 duelists in the game. If you're really good with her mechanically, take those off-angle positions, and win those 1v1s against other duelists. My particular playstyle feels very much like an assassin, as I apply pressure and I wait for the right moment to go in. I've been doing this long enough that I have seen myself in streams of the opponents that I go up against, and anytime I go to those streams and try and watch from their perspective to see what's going on, I check them out to see if there's any clips I can get to help with my own videos. And the one thing I've learned from my playstyle is you don't really see me very much. Because I heavily try to isolate my targets and isolate who can see me, I'm really not seen very often. And this is the kind of playstyle that I like to play, and it works for me. And ever since the global alt nerf, as well as changing her kit to give her just the tiniest bit more strength, it really benefits my playstyle. And even though I haven't been playing as much this season, I've really been enjoying playing Psylocke a lot more. So hopefully this video has helped give you some ideas in ways that you can play Psylocke yourself, and I hope you're enjoying playing her as much as I am, because she is a pretty difficult character, but she is a lot of fun. Anyway, that's all I got for now. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and thank you for watching.